Over the last couple of weeks, both Indian and Harley Davidson have, as usual, been in the motorcycle news. YouTubers have been going crazy with commentary, and yes, I have made a couple of related videos myself. But there was something that snuck by most of the talking heads, and that news came from Ducati in October of this year during EICMA 2025. And that big news? Well, Ducati was asked if they will be producing an entry-level, smaller displacement motorcycle. Unsurprisingly, because they have told us this before, Ducati will not be jumping on the bandwagon and making a 400cc affordable bike competing with Triumph, KTM, Royal Enfield, and all of the Japanese manufacturers. Why? Because Ducati knows who they are, and that is a manufacturer of premium, technologically advanced performance motorcycles. Building low displacement, entry-level bikes just goes against who they are. Now, when I read this, my first reaction was good for them. Stick to your guns and do what you know best. With that said, you might ask, but Craig, you have been an advocate for both Harley-Davidson and Indian motorcycles making different types of bikes other than cruisers, and maybe giving us some offerings that are more affordable. And you would be correct to point that out. But I think the situation with Ducati and, let's say, Indian is a bit different. First, Ducati has been making profit, grossing more than €1 billion over the past 3 years. Their operating profit for 2024 was €91 million, and they delivered just under 55,000 motorcycles around the world. Ducati is happy and profitable being a high-end boutique brand. Indian motorcycles, on the other hand, have been struggling. They too are a high-end boutique brand, but their offerings are limited to one segment of the motorcycle market, the heavy, that is over 1000cc, American cruiser. And we know what has been happening to that niche over the last 10 years. Even though Ducati caters to a well-to-do crowd, they are not limited to high-performance race machines. Ducati's offerings are actually quite diverse, with sport bikes, hypermotard, naked sports, adventure bikes, power cruisers, as well as the Scrambler line. In addition, they, like Triumph, are now moving into the enduro or off-road segment. Ducatis are of course not cheap. It will cost you about $12,000 for a new Scrambler, $14,000 for a Monster, around $20,000 for a Desert X, and $33,000 for the Multistrada V4 Pikes Peak Edition. A Panigale V2 will set you back around $17,000, and a Street Fighter V2S about $19,000. Recently, again while at EICMA, Ben Lindemann of Indian Motorcycles basically followed the Ducati philosophy by saying, "I think in the short term our direction is really to focus on cruisers and baggers and touring in the United States and around the world. Once we have enough growth and once we have established ourselves enough there, then we can do anything. It's really how we feel." Listening to this, I have two feelings. First, like I did with Ducati, I say, good on you, you know who you are, and you're sticking to your guns. My second thought is, but you are choosing to put all your eggs into a basket that is shrinking. The economic and demographic outlook for the next 10 to 15 years seems to say that the downward trend, that is for expensive big cruisers, is going to continue. Hasn't Indian Motorcycles been establishing themselves in the cruiser and bagger market for the last 12 years? What is it that you're going to do differently that is suddenly going to start working and bringing riders back to cruisers? What are you going to do differently to move longtime loyalists away from the dominant force in your chosen marketplace? And that is, of course, Harley-Davidson. I think it is great for a company or an individual to know who they are, but there is also a need to be flexible enough in your thinking to identify when something is not working or needs to be improved. When Ducati saw the market changing, they didn't say, "We only make super fast red sport bikes." Rather, they asked, "How can we work within our core values to create other premium offerings which will broaden our appeal?" It seems that Ducati's gambles have paid off. Building the Scrambler line has been a success, as well as taking the dive into the growing segment of adventure bikes. But Ducati is an Italian brand and not bound by the same self-imposed rules that come with being an American motorcycle company. Interestingly, as I was putting this video together, Mike Kennedy, the guy who will be the Indian CEO once the move to Carrollwood is complete, announced that he is leveraging his past experience with Vance and Hines to establish a partnership in creating the next generation of Indian King of the Bagger racing bikes. Now, this would seem to be good news for Indian owners in that continued investment and growth are part of the plan, at least for now. Does supporting a bagger racing team translate to increased sales? Well, I don't know. Ducati has a very successful MotoGP racing team they continue to support. So we'll see what the future brings. As always, ride safe and keep squeezing your lemon.